This video is the first in a series of videos that will take you through the process of installing Heritage or HomeTrex, selecting a report format, completing a report, and finally outputting the report to a PDF, to a printer, or archive it so that you can edit it in the future. So the first thing we'll do is get started with the installation. I started with inserting the CD. The process is exactly the same. If you have downloaded, you just double click on the installer file. If you have the CD, it will auto run. Select Install Heritage. I'll click Next. Review the license, which I encourage you to do. It's actually the best license in the industry. Click Next. Some additional information about the installation. Next. I recommend that you install to the default folder. I'll create a desktop icon and then install. At this point we have our main menu. I want to launch the inspection report. You may be prompted to enable content, as is the case here. I cover security settings in a separate video. You can go in and prevent this from prompting you to enable content by selecting to trust the Heritage inspection report. For now, I'll click on Enable Content. After entering my company name and the activation code, I'll click on the Activate button. After several seconds, you'll be presented with a box that will tell you that the report has been set up. So I'll click OK again. That takes us to the main splash screen. I'll click the Start button to launch the report. The first thing we're presented with is a job inspection details form. This information will be placed at several different locations throughout the report: the cover page, invoice, client information, general information page for the property, and so on. The most important line in this form is your job ID, because that's going to actually become the file name for this particular job. For our purposes, I'll put in a date. I also usually use the time of the inspection in military time. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon would be 1400. Now put in some client information. After I've completed the form, I'll click OK, Start New. I also have the options to reset the form, or I could edit an existing report if I were opening an existing, and this information would already be there from that existing report. Rather than start a new file, I'll edit the existing file. I'll click OK. It asks us to be patient while it sets up the job. We can continue working in the report. We started our cover page. You'll notice that the job information is on the cover page. What I have not done yet is set up the inspector information. I'll go back up to the job setup. I'll enter in the inspector information. I will put in my information. Once I've completed the form, I'll click OK. Tells us that we've been set up. Now if I scroll down, you'll see that I have this information on my form. If I were working in my master template, anything that I want to do in the master template will be saved. In order to work in my master, instead of entering a job ID for the job, I simply would have said Edit Existing, or simply canceled out of the job information form Everything that I do at that point, the program assumes I want to keep. That would include inspector information or any other modifications that I've done to my master template. The cover page, of course, is optional. It is common to all of the reports. You can choose not to include the cover page in the report. The next step I'm going to do is select which style of report I want to do. I'll go into additional detail on individual report types in other videos. So for example, if you were working in the New York template or commercial template, you could look at the videos that pertain to that particular template. You'll see that I have a drop menu for templates. This is going to be different between Heritage and HomeTrex. Heritage has all of the templates. HomeTrex has fewer templates. One of the reports is identified as the HomeTrex report. The HomeTrex report, which is also in Heritage, is common obviously to both, and it's a report style that's being carried over from the earlier version of HomeTrex with some very significant enhancements to the report format. For our purposes in this video, I'll start with the HomeTrex report. I'll get into actually completing the report in another video. I just want to show you how you go into a report initially. Right now I want to go back to the main control panel to introduce you to a few of the things on the main control panel, a couple of which you've already seen, but I'll go through in order. Starting at the beginning, on the left we have job setup, inspection details. We saw when we launched the software and it asked us for the inspection details. Inspector details you've already seen. Select pages is one of the most important items in the entire report because that's where you'll actually choose which pages to include or exclude from your reports. That can be changed at any time, but you can set this up to a standard so that every time you open the software it will always open to your standard report. Home is just a quick way to take you back to the cover page at the beginning of the report, and the go to start takes you back to the initial splash screen. The next group in the control panel is your inspection reports. Here we have the My Report, and as I just explained, My Report is just that. That's your report as you've defined it. That's your standard report. You can change it at any time through the select pages. HomeTrex or Heritage will always open to your standard report, or in other words, My Report. Single family is a continuously expandable report. This is common to earlier editions of Heritage. Legacy report, this is also a report that we've had for a while. It's been modified and updated for a more contemporary look and for the newer features that wouldn't have been practical in the older legacy report, but for inspectors who have been using our software for a very long time, this will be a very comfortable report for them to move into because it's going to have a look and feel very similar to what they're accustomed to. The HomeTrex report, the one that we've launched, is the most popular of our various report styles. The commercial is just that. It's a commercial. It's a continuously expandable. I'll talk about continuously expandable reports in detail in another video. The custom report, this is a report that you would build from the ground up. It could be any type of a report. It doesn't even have to be buildings. You could inspect aircraft, or you could inspect boats or houses or anything, and as you'll see in other videos, you have the capability of modifying this software so extensively that you can do any kind of an inspection with it. Obviously it's primarily intended for homes and commercial buildings. InterNACHI, this is a report that follows the InterNACHI standards. NAHI, ASHI, HQS is for Section 8 reports. Nevada, New York, North Carolina, and Texas. TREC is the Texas Real Estate Commission. The next selection is page sets. These are groups of related pages, or you can display all your pages at one time. This simply displays pages. This does not change your standard report. The same is true with the inspection reports. If you want to just view another template, it does not change your standard template. You can always go back to your template just by clicking on My Report. The page sets, we have photo album pages. This is for inspectors who prefer not to put their photos in line in the body, which you can do with any of the inspection formats, the continuously expandable, the legacy, the HomeTrex, and so on. Or you can do the photo album pages, which are exactly what it says. They're like a traditional photo album with 6 photos to a page. We have a template for 3 photos to a page with large text boxes and so on. Ancillary are things like air handling units for commercial, ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, for ADA compliance, common areas for apartment buildings, multifamily buildings, and so on, condos. Invoice is exactly what it says. Job order is a job order form you can fill out. You can pre-print these if you want, carry them with you, as I do. If I take a job and I'm in the field, I don't forget to record important information about that job, lockbox codes, real estate agent contact information, client contact information, those types of things. Index pages, these are the indices to the various reports and templates, so you can quickly look at an index to see how that particular format is laid out. I'll go into the other controls in other videos. As I said, this is the first in a series. This was just to give you the introduction and walk you through the installation process. One final note is that if you notice as I hover over many of the controls, there are descriptions of what those controls are, how they work, and so on. So that's a good way to learn the software. If you're new to the software, just look at the controls, obviously watch the videos, and of course feel free at any time to call for help. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.